these friends are supposed to be our therapists, our ride or die, our constant cheerleader. Like, we're supposed to agree with them politically, like raise our children the same.
I agree. And I think that was really a thing for me when I was younger and before I kind of realized that I don't have the same type of relationship with every single friend I have. For me, it was more of I expect you to be the kind of friend that I am, which is totally faulty. Totally
I am the best friend ever, and therefore so shall you be.
Well, and honestly, I was a really good friend. I was a very good friend. And I compare myself to the friend I used to be too. And that's a lot of pressure.
And I've just kind of learned that like friendships are different. Some are there for a season and some friends stick around for a while in one form or another. You almost have to grow up about it a little bit, if that makes sense. Like, I think that we kind of see it in a very childlike way when we're younger. And now that we're older, it's like, just because she didn't send me a birthday card doesn't mean that she's like crossed me off the list.
We just have to cut people some slack. And I think the older we get, the more slack we need. So the more we realize, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not all about me. Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Drinks with the Girls. I'm Karen.
And I'm Lisa. We are so glad you're here for this one because today we are diving into something that hits deep for so many women, including us, female friendships in midlife. The messy, beautiful, complicated parts, the ones that fade, explode, or completely shift shape. Y'all know what we're talking about.
Yes, but before we really dive in, Lisa, what are you drinking tonight?
It's from the Sir Inkwell's Health Curiosities line. And it's an adaptogen yerba mate with energy and focus. So we'll see. I might be up packing for my business trip till 3 a.m. because of this, but I was willing to risk it. It's a blood orange mango, and it has adaptogens, yerba mate, ashwagandha, reishi, and ginseng. And it's quite tasty, actually. It tastes kind of like a iced tea, but better. I'm a fan. And
I'm curious to know about your focus, if it improves your focus.
Or if I'm like texting you at 3 a.m. going, I'm still up. Is there anything I can do for the podcast? Really? Can I?
I am drinking a guava craft cider.
Look at you, all fancy.
I know. Our nephew actually came over a couple weekends ago and he turned us on to these because Tony is all about the sweet stuff and I am not, but this is actually quite delicious.
Is it a hard cider?
Yes.
Yum.
It's a hard cider.
Say it again.
Yeah, it's a craft cider. The flavor is guava and the brand who makes it is Ace, like an
nice.
Ace of hearts.
Yeah, I like a good cider. Up here in the Northwest, we're a fan. I say that like the royal we, like I represent all people in the Northwest. I don't know. The yerba mate may be kicking in already, so this could be an interesting episode. Buckle up.
Buckle up, folks. So our second episode ever, almost a year ago, if you can believe it, talked about the complexity of female friendships, how we make friends as adults, isolation and loneliness, and the effort it takes to maintain friendships. And so today we are revisiting this topic and we're going deeper. We're talking about how friendships change, how we sometimes blame ourselves when friendships end, and why it hurts so much when a bond that we thought would last forever doesn't.
So I just have to put this out there, and we can talk more about it, but I swear to God, I still have angst about friendships that melted down and like major relationships in my life. I'm like, all right, bye. It's fine. So I'm interested in really diving into this tonight because, I mean, I think about it and it hurts just like it was yesterday. Like, I just feel like the sting never really goes away, right? I mean, we know that female friendships are beautiful, layered, powerful, but they're super tricky. And I think it's really good that we're going to dive in. Why do you think that is?
I think part of it has to do with the fact, well, I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't want to generalize and speak for women. But, I think because we get vulnerable and we get raw and we talk about the real things, not just, the fluff. And it's that emotional intensity because we pour so much of ourselves into these friendships. And my friends, they become mirrors, sounding boards, safe havens. And then when there's like a rift, it just feels really personal, like on a whole new level. And, not just we drifted apart, but like, who am I without this person?
And it's so interesting because, like, you could be talking about a relationship, right? But I bet,
For
like,
sure.
Your college boyfriend, like, you're over it. I don't know.
So the residue lasts longer, is what you're saying.
Totally.
With friendship.
Totally. It's like nuclear, and I mean, like, I can look back and it's not that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that or that shouldn't have, like, we shouldn't have drifted apart, but it's still like the pain still really lingers, right? So, question, why do we always blame ourselves first, right? So there's that moment, I think, when a friendship starts to feel kind of off, right? And the first thing is like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, I feel like yes, women tend to do that with relationships, but I think with friendships, you just kind of go back to 7th grade and like, do the popular kids not like me anymore? Like there's kind of an edge of that in there. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think we internalize it immediately, and it's like a reflex for women to just take the blame, even if we've been hurt or disrespected in some way. And surprise, surprise, I think a lot of it has to do with our conditioning as girls and women because we are conditioned to maintain the harmony, keep the peace, even when it's at our own expense. From the time we're little girls, we're taught that we are the emotional caretakers of the relationships. We're praised for being good girls, good friends, good listeners, peacemakers, right? Putting other people's needs first. So by the time we're in our 40s and beyond, we've had decades of this conditioning and we internalize this belief that it's our job to maintain this harmony. And if a relationship falls apart, we must have failed somehow.
Yeah. Just trying to take this all in. I think the other thing too is that loyalty piece. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think that's one of the really tricky parts to this, right? So definitely the societal conditioning, and that can be super toxic. So that people pleasing, being selfless, right? So when a friendship ends, that old programming, like you said, kicks in. And instead of recognizing that sometimes relationships will naturally evolve, sometimes values shift, sometimes it's not about blame at all, women are primed to scan ourselves for flaws. So like that loyalty piece, right? Like, well, this person doesn't have a lot of friends, or like we've been friends for so long, like surely I can overlook that. So looking internally, what did I do wrong? Was I too much? Not enough? Like, this is 7th grade, right? Did I disappoint her? I know for me, just that idea of having lifelong friendships, like we talk about our moms a lot on this podcast, right? Our moms were literally like part of the bestie group since they were like 18. Right? And it continued until Karen's mom passed, right? And so we have that kind of mirror to hold up, right? And I know Karen's talked about still being really tight with people that she went to college with. I have kind of the weird reverse. I am super close to people that I went to college with, but not necessarily ones that I hung out with in college. It's a little different, but I definitely think that whole like, oh my God, we've been friends for so many years, surely we can work this out piece. I know I've held on for dear life a little too long in situations just literally because of that.
Well, and I think that's the thing that just kept popping up in my head is because I think women do it in relationships with, partners, and they also do it in friendships. It's like, it's giving way too many accommodations or way to, it's like just putting up with the bullshit just, oh, because we've been friends for so long, or, oh, that's just how she is, or you know what? And that's freaking exhausting because most times you can't even feel like you can be honest with her about these things that are causing these little mini rifts in the relationship, right? And so then you're out of authenticity. Yeah. So I mean, I just think I think that's such a part of our conditioning. And then you combine it with, this need to maintain harmony, and avoiding conflict is normalized, right? We're not taught healthy ways to handle anger. I mean, we're not even supposed to be angry as women, by the way.
Yep.
And we're definitely not taught to set boundaries. See episode on boundaries. So when this conflict does happen, we automatically just internalize it, assume it's because we did something wrong, especially if nobody's saying anything, right? And then we're just left wondering. And then our self-worth takes a hit because it's interwoven with our relationships, right? So we're just subtly taught to gauge our value by how well-liked or needed we are. And, certainly if we have a friendship blow up, there must be something wrong with us.
Okay. So 2 things I want to say to that. So
bring it.
First of all, I remember you talked in the boundaries episode about how I think you said when you turned 40, it was like this lightning bolt of, I don't need to give the same access to all my friends. Like, I can differentiate, right? Like, not everybody gets 100% and knows my deepest, darkest. And that was like a revelation to you, right? So I think that kind of speaks to what you're saying. But also, I feel like if I look back at my deeper friendships other than like childhood, like our situation, right? They were formed in times of trauma, like difficult work situations or like college. And when, young moms, like my friends that have kids with disabilities, like there's some kernel of trauma that's involved in that. And you take that kind of like everybody's in the ship, right? Pulling along and like it's us against the world kind of a thing. So when it's no longer in that kind of a hothouse environment, I think the cracks begin to show sometime, right? Like in the pandemic when like tons of marriages like went under and people are like, I don't like you nearly as much as I thought I did because now I'm spending all my time with you. Shout out to my friend Kelly, who I love, was like, I love my family, but I don't love them that much. She's like, I need my space. I need my time. Like, I love you, children. I love you, husband, but oh, doggy. So I'm just wondering if that's part of it too. It's like when they're made in this really kind of just intense environment, when that goes away, like, I don't know.
That's interesting. I really hadn't even looked at it from that angle. And I'm thinking, as you're talking, I'm thinking in my mind, because I'm looking, I have, these two groups of amazing women that I've been close with for over 20 years, both of them. And, one was from college, and then one is, the women who I raised my kids with, basically starting in preschool, right? They started in school together, played on sports teams, whatever. And I'm like, well, there's no trauma there. That was all fun. But then I look back and it's like, my college girlfriends, we pledged a sorority together. There was a hell of a lot of trauma. This was in the 80s when hazing was still a thing. And, then my girlfriends, who I raised my kids with, like, of course, that's a joyous time, but I would consider parenting traumatic. It's like on a spectrum, but there's definitely so many things involved in parenting, and you don't know what the hell you're doing, and you need the people on the ship to kind of, help you right the ship. So I think that's such an interesting perspective, Lisa.
Yeah. And I mean, I certainly have friends that I hang out with just because like they make me laugh and things like that. But there's something that like, I don't know, something that bonds us together with all that. And that responsibility that I think, like, take, for example, like a toxic work situation, right? That kind of responsibility for other people's emotions, right? If someone else is upset, we're going to expect ourselves to fix it, to smooth it over, to shoulder the blame, right? And so I think what happens, at least with me, what's happened is, like, I look at it not as a crack in the friendship, but something to like smooth over and make okay, right? Like I just kick into that mode, which is kind of ridiculous, right? And I know for me, again, we've talked about this. Karen's experience was a little different, but I felt this pressure to kind of repeat these lifelong friendships that our moms had. There was this whole group, and the guys ran around with the same fraternity, and the women ran around with not necessarily the same sorority, but it was like a rarefied kind of group. And all of us, like Karen and I remember this, there was always outings and things like that the kids would be part of when we were little. We just kind of grew up around that. And so for me, I was like, oh, I go to college, I do that, right? Well, there's several issues with that, right? Number one, I'm not my mom. Number two, I went way the hell over to the East Coast for college, right? So I have now inserted the boundary of distance there. And while like I'm still really tight with a lot of these women, I'm actually going back to my 35th, oh my God, college reunion soon. That's still a real factor there. There's still just something different about being a coast away, right? So Karen has a bit of advantage in that she went to school in Southern California. So, for the most part, these people are kind of around there. So not that one is better or worse, but that's just life, I mean.
Well, and I have to say, I have one friend, my best girlfriend from college, she has flip-flopped coasts. She was, here on the West Coast, grew up on the West Coast, and then got married, moved to the East Coast, Virginia, then moved back to the West Coast. Now she's back on the East Coast. I have another girlfriend that's in the Bay Area. And so it's not so much the locale, because even the girls that live an hour from me, I don't see.
Yeah.
And actually, when I lived in Seal Beach, I had a girlfriend who lived 15 minutes away from me. I still didn't see them that often, but it was the commitments that we made. We made a yearly commitment, and now it's twice a year. Now that all our kids are grown up, we see each other twice a year. But it's like, if you don't put the effort in, it's not going to be sustainable. And of course, people fall away. Bottom line, friendships take effort.
My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women unapologetically design a life they're in love with. Because what the hell are we waiting for? My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and free offers, like my Midlife Reclamation Guide. In it, you'll find tools to help you decide how to create the most inspired and empowered version of yourself and your life. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. See the show notes for all the details. Cheers.
And it's interesting because this group of women that I'm going back to see, our particular class is super tight, super tight at a school where everybody is super tight. There's this whole thing, if you get a call from a smithy, you drop everything to help them, right? And there's great parts to that. I can literally land at an airport anywhere and get stranded, and I'll have a couch and a place to stay, But my long rant, I think, has a lot to do with expectations. So I had these really super high expectations for friends that I would meet in college. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so these friends are supposed to be our therapists, our ride or die, our constant cheerleader. We're supposed to agree with them politically, raise our children the same. I'm not saying we should do this. I'm just saying in our mind, these are the kind of thoughts that go through our heads now. And I think, especially with the politics, a lot of us are wow, okay, people are much more different and divided than I thought they were. What does that mean? And I know a lot of people are choosing to just be nope, you're on a different political spectrum and we're done. I have not made that choice. I have still maintained to some extent friendships with people that are on a different political spectrum than I am. That high expectation piece is absolutely still there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that was really a thing for me when I was younger, and before I kind of realized that that I don't have the same type of relationship with every single friend I have. And for me, it was more of I expect you to be the kind of friend that I am, which is totally faulty.
So true.
Totally
I am the best friend ever, and therefore so shall you be.
Well, and honestly, I was a really good friend. I was a very good friend. I want to say I was a thorough friend. I remembered all the things, and I would, give gifts when, there was an occasion, and I would get people together. I was kind of, the hub and, gathering the people, and, and now I don't know. It's like I'm less of a hands-on friend. I mean, I'm still definitely a ride or die. You call me at 2 a.m., I got you. But I don't know if it's just because I'm more forgetful, or I just don't have the emotional bandwidth anymore. But, I don't remember all the birthdays, thank goodness for Facebook. But I don't always text right away. Whereas back in the day, oh my God.
Yeah.
You texted me or called me. I called you right back. And ironically, this was something that my mom, I was always I would just shake my head at her. And I'm like, you are such a wonderful human being, but you are a terrible, terrible communicator with your friends. Like she never, she would let messages just go. Obviously not text messages, but, and she did not do a good job of keeping in contact with people, but she still had these beautiful female friendships. So I don't know how she did it, but I'm like, I don't want to be like her. And guess what? Now I'm like her. Yeah. And I compare myself to the friend I used to be too. And that's a lot of pressure.
Oh my God. No, but I know what you mean. It's like, yeah, I used to be somewhat of that person as well, like remembering the birthdays and things like that. And then it's just like life, man, And what's interesting is like, oh, she forgot my birthday. But like, I think when you're younger, that hits harder than now when it's just like, oh, yay, all these people on Facebook wishing me happy birthday. It's not like you're going through that with a fine tooth comb and like, bitch, you did not wish me happy birthday. Like, nobody has time for that, right? Like, no. And so I think that, life just gets heavy as you get older. And so, I'll have this conversation with friends that I haven't talked to in a while that are really, really good friends of mine. And, 2 years will go by and I think of them all the time, but we haven't talked or seen each other or whatever, but we pick right back up when we see each other. And I'm very, very fortunate that I have quite a few of those friendships. And I've just kind of learned that like friendships are different. Some are there for a season to get you through the work catastrophe. Some are affiliated with, when you used to take your kids to gymnastics or whatever. And some friends stick around for a while in one form or another. And it just, I think you almost have to grow up about it a little bit, if that makes sense. Like, I think that we kind of see it in a very childlike way when we're younger. And now that we're older, it's like, just because she didn't send me a birthday card doesn't mean that she's like crossed me off the list,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we just have to cut people some slack. And I think the older we get, the more slack we need. So the more we realize, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not all about me. Sometimes people have things going on in their lives and they just don't have the bandwidth, to, be as heavily involved. That used to be such a pet peeve of mine, like friends that did not give the same level that, that I did. And it took me so many years and I think to your point, it's like when we mature, we live life for a little bit longer, we realize, oh my gosh, just relax. It's like
chill. It's fine.
As long as they're not an asshole, that's a whole different thing. But, the people that I don't talk to for a while or, that don't text me right away or maybe not ever, it's like you give people so much more grace, or I do now. And I just realize, our friendship is still solid, even though we're not necessarily doing this like rapid fire communication anymore.
You bring up a good point though, which we definitely need to dive in. What about when they end? Either they fade away or it's a giant explosion. Like that's hard. I suppose when they end with an explosion, that's pretty brutal and traumatic and there, but also the ones that fade away and you're looking through your contacts in your phone, you're like, oh my God, how have I not talked to that person in forever? Now, Facebook has literally built a business model on that. Like, let's be real. Hey, Facebook brought Karen and I back together. So I'm not, and I have mixed feelings about Meta at best, which we're not going to dive into here, but there's that added piece. A bot, essentially, finding people that have been connected to you and literally serving them up for you on a daily basis. And so I think that part of social media has been really, really wonderful to kind of maintain those connections. But I'm not going to look at my friendships on Facebook and say, oh, I'm totally tight with every single one of them. Like we had a guest on here, gosh, a few weeks ago who talked about writing letters to every single one of her Facebook friends. And it was a great episode. Listen to it when you get a chance. But I remember thinking, I don't know that I want to spend that kind of time. Like it took her, like 2 years or something crazy like that?
Oh, I think too, I remember like the early days of Facebook or when you first, I got on social media and Facebook is suggesting people and you're like, oh yeah, I had chemistry in 11th grade with her or, and it's like, okay, look, if you really weren't good enough friends to kind of keep in touch with, are you really going to nurture this connection, now? But I mean, yeah, I don't know. And to your point, I don't know that I would write letters to everybody on my Facebook.
I want to go back to this whole friendships breaking up thing because I feel like that's something really important that we need to kind of dive into. And I mean, I think we've all had that situation. I know for me, there have been several friendships that for me, I held on to way too damn long. Out of sense of loyalty, out of sense of, oh, they don't have that many friends. And just, I feel like the last straw for them wasn't necessarily something so huge and awful as compared to everything else. It was just like that all of a sudden it was literally the straw that broke the camel's back. And I remember in one situation that was particularly bad, I was talking to my husband because he knew this person really, really well and we really cared about her and it was bad. And I was like, what should I do? Should I like dive into this again? He's like, honestly, he's like, I don't know why you've held on as long as you have with these things that have happened. And he's Mr. like, no, you got to like dive in there. Right. And so I was like, what? So that really made me sit up and take notice because, again, we've talked about this before. Like, so you're going to let someone treat you like crap just because you've been friends with them for 25 years? Like,
or maybe because you have a circle of friends that you're both in, which makes things, really
you don't want it
tricky.
to be ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think guys have a way better barometer of looking at the situation and going, no, hard no. What are you doing?
Well, and I think I'm not trying to bag on men, but it's a different thing with male friendships. Like guys can sit around and I'm being very sexist, but drink a beer and watch the game and whatever. Like my husband's always like, you don't talk about that kind of stuff that you talk about. But at the same time, I was like, you need to branch out and make more friends. Like I feel like women as a whole work harder at maintaining like a group of friends, especially when you're in like a committed relationship or a married relationship. Like my husband used to have tons of friends. He doesn't have as many anymore. And I say it to him all the time, like, you need to like have your own friends. And he's like, why? I have you. I'm like, okay, A, that's creepy. And B, like branch out a little bit, but it's different,
I think that is so common though, because I was revisiting our second episode on Friends. It's called Let's Be Friends. We'll put it in the show notes. And we were talking about that with our parents and how the women were really the ones that had these connections and the guys were just around to play ping pong and drink beer. They were just along for the ride. And when I think about my friendships with my friends from my kids' schooling, it's the same thing. Like the husbands were just along for the ride. And then they all became friends by proxy. But it was the women that was initiating those connections.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember they used to do like theme nights for dinners, right? And because, you didn't really go out a lot. And this way, like you could just bring your kids and whatever. But it's like when I think back, ain't no way my dad was the one calling me like, okay, so should we do Russian or Spanish? We're together.
I mean, and honestly,
that was not the
guys
case.
Just probably showed up. They weren't.
Exactly.
They just showed up. The women did it all.
They're like, we'll bring the vodka.
And I think something else that is important to touch on is even, when friendships do either fade away or blow up, there's this level of grief that is involved, because even if it was a toxic friendship that you didn't really realize right away or you let it go on way too long, there's just this level of grieving that you have to process and you have to work through, and it's hard. Definitely hard.
And I think what gets it for me is like, sure, I've had plenty of relationships fall apart and I grieved those and I was upset or, all the things. But it's the female friendships that still get me. Like I look back and I'm like, okay, no, right. Like I don't look back and be like, nope, I should still be friends with that person. Like if someone is not in my life purposefully, there's a reason for that. Like I'm okay with it, but it still is just like a raw damn wound, man. Like and it when I think about it, those memories are painful, because it's mixed with the good and the bad. I wonder why. I just wonder why that is. Maybe it's just a me thing.
I feel like what you're experiencing is a real thing. There is a sisterhood wound. Like that is a thing. You can look it up.
Is that like revenge bedtime procrastination or
Exactly.
See prior episode on sleep.
Yeah, see sleep episode for that little tidbit. But no, the sisterhood wound, it refers to the emotional pain, the distrust, jealousy, competition, and even betrayal that can occur between women. And it's rooted on a much deeper, like societal conditioning level. But it's the scar that's left from women like being pitted against each other, like that competitiveness. And it discourages like true vulnerable connection. And I think that, that's part of it. Like when we connect with other women on this deep, vulnerable, authentic level, and then something goes awry, I think it just really activates this in us,
Yeah, because I guess it is that competitor versus ally kind of thing. I mean, I think, and I have a lot of feelings about like women that hate on other women and try to put women down. Like to me, that's the unforgivable sin. Like you can disagree with someone, you can just be like, I don't get where she's coming from. But just this like intentional wounding of another sister to me is just unforgivable because of all the crap that we have to deal with. And so, when they talk about auras, right? And like people who are really close, like you can see that like physical energy around them. Like to me, if I was to like represent it visually for these friendships I'm talking about, like it is still like scarred up, ugly energy that just is raw and like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, probably because it sounds like there was no closure or like there was no coming to a point where, you had a chance to maybe kind of work through some of that.
The several cases that I'm thinking about, there were like looking back, there were issues that were there all along that I chose to purposefully ignore. And that in the end blew it up and really involved, in short, me putting up with shit that I should have never put up with in the first place. So I wonder, I'm like analyzing myself real time here. This is interesting. I wonder if that's part of it. Is that wound maybe comes from me feeling like I didn't protect myself. Like, it was there all along. This is like what blew it up. Better. I should have known better. So maybe that's, I don't know. Hey, I was wondering what I was going to talk to my therapist about this week. So there we go.
Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about having conversations like this is that you can really do some introspection, and figure out, especially if you see a pattern in your friendships. Like if you have, like every couple of years you have a friendship blow up, or if there's always like the same themes or whatever. I mean, I think just get courageous and like look at that. And for me, like I know for me, I'm like avoidant as all get out. Like no, hell no. I'll just fade into the background. I am not going to call you on your shit per se if I know it's going to be ugly, which is ironic because I'm thinking about, one of the things I love about some of my friendship, and I consider Lisa, you in this category too, but it's like, I want you to call me on my bullshit, because I know you're going to do it from a loving, authentic place. And likewise, like, you and I have kind of done this, when it comes to like the podcast and stuff like this. It's like, wait a minute, let's think about this. And I just think I value that in friendships, both of us being able to, kind of call each other out but in a loving way. But there's definitely, I've had friendships where I don't feel that level of safety.
Yeah.
Either in you calling me out or in me calling you out, because knowing that it won't be received. And so I don't know. I'm just, again, like you, I'm in real time. I'm just, I'm reflecting on some
saving
stuff.
our insurance company some money for therapy. Hey there, I'm Lisa Coricella McDowell, your midlife Pacific Northwest princess, here to guide you in the art of next leveling your life. I'm passionate about women's health and wellness in midlife, especially for moms parenting kids with unique needs like I do. I truly believe we can learn, grow, advocate, and care for the planet while taking care of ourselves and our families. And I'd love to help you do the same. Plus, I'm beyond excited to announce the launch of my new membership, the Empowered Parent Collective, this March. It's a space for parents to confidently advocate for their kids, build inclusive communities, educate themselves, and find balance and support along the way. To find out more about the Empowered Parent Collective, my classes, wellness offerings, parenting tips, advocacy resources, and exclusive Drinks with the Girls goodies, head to nextlevellifewithlisa.com. Let's survive and thrive in the messy middle together. Cheers. But no, I mean, I think you're onto something there. And I think that, like, if I think...
Hey, you don't need a therapist. You need a podcast, everybody.
Look at that. And we're out. So, okay, we are not doctors. Yes, Karen is a certified counselor with a degree, not medical professionals, disclaimer, et cetera, et cetera. At any rate, again, just reflecting back on these 2-3 friendships in particular that I'm thinking about, for me at least, I feel like it was just piling on and piling on and piling on and piling on. And I would excuse it away and excuse it away. And for whatever reason, this last little tiny sprinkle of the same, and I was like, and I'm done. And for me, like, I will give you the shirt off my back to my detriment. I am loyal to a freaking fault. Like, I've had people owe me money and I still forgive them, like hardcore stuff like that. But once I hit that point, it's just
done. Yeah.
And it takes a while, but when I'm there, like, and I'm done. Because I think I just give too much as it is. And so there's that feeling of like, and no, you get nothing from me now. I'm not okay with all this.
It's interesting. I was just talking to somebody about this same thing, but with relationships, with like romantic partnerships. And I was talking, with my daughter-in-law. We were talking about, we have 2 women in our lives that, are struggling in their relationships right now. And both of them have just, drawn that line in the sand. And I think you just get to a point, whether it's with your friendships or your relationships, and you're just like, I'm freaking done. Mm-hmm. Like you get tired of your own BS, your own way that you shrink yourself and accommodate this person and put up with so much. Yep. And so, I think the parallels are, similar with romantic relationships and female friendships.
Yeah. And we talked about this on the boundaries episode where, at that point I'd had this really fresh relationship kind of implode. And, I was sitting with it for like a few days and I was just so activated by it. And I realized that like, it had to explode the way it did because I just freaking kept coming back for more. Like, I look back at it now, it's like, Lisa, you fool. Like, what? What is your deal? Like, you are not a loser. You do not need to put up with that stuff from that person. Why? Why would you possibly give second, third, fourth, fifth chances? Like, hello.
I don't think you're alone in that, though. I think women do that. Like, I think we turn the blind eye so easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that whole pacifier mode, right?
Yeah.
Like for us to get to the point where we're so activated that we're like, and I'm done. Like that is the nuclear option, that is not used, right?
Yeah.
Very often. I mean, you've talked about that with your divorce and stuff like that. Like, I feel like when women are done, they are freaking done, and I don't necessarily think that I'm alone in that. I think that because we are the glue, because for the most part, we hold so much of this together and stretch and bend to like it's a freaking game of emotional twister, right? Just to hold the circle together. And when that little pin drops and we've had enough, it's just like, and I'm walking away. Like, I can't do this anymore. And it's interesting because like, if I look back, I also feel like there's a lesson or two that I needed to keep freaking learning. Like, I'm not saying with all these friendships, but with a few of them, like, there were some mental health issues involved. There were things that were very similar. And it's like, okay, if you don't learn it the first time, it's coming back for round 2. And guess what? It's coming back for round 3. And it's like the universe is just like, look, I'm going to keep coming back. And each time, it's not going to be as gentle until you learn what you need to learn from this situation. So on this go around, it's like, okay, Lise, like, this was pretty bad. Do you really want to go through this again? Like, are we done with this now? Can we learn this lesson and move on? Freaking please.
For sure. Life definitely ups the ante every time. So if someone is listening right now and they are really relating to what we're talking about, if you guys are feeling heartbroken or confused about a friendship, first of all, we see you. You are not alone.
You got us, babes.
That's right. And you're not a bad person for walking away from something that no longer feels good, even if it took you too long to do it. And letting go doesn't necessarily mean that the friendship didn't matter. It just means you're honoring your own emotional well-being. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about getting older is we get really good at doing that. And it can be heartbreaking, and we blame ourselves due to our conditioning like we talked about, and this, kind of keeps us stuck, keeps us in self-doubt instead of self-compassion. But the truth is, friendships ending is a natural, normal part of life. Like Lisa said earlier, not everybody is meant to be with us for the whole thing. They're here for a season, right? Or a reason. And it's nobody's fault. It's timing, circumstances, differences. And, we deserve to hold ourselves with love and not guilt when these friendships change. What would you say, Lisa? Somebody out there is struggling.
So, first of all, I'm so glad we have this community in this space. And I hope that this gives everyone some degree of feeling seen and heard, because that's in the introduction of our podcast that we play every single time. Like that's why we created this space. But when you were talking about that, my mind was, and you're going to laugh at me, but I live to entertain. My mind was going to Sex and the City because, why not? And
I'm binging that right now, by the way.
The original or the new one?
Oh, the original. No,
Okay.
That's why I need to get HBO Max because I can.
Oh, for the love, girl. Jeez Louise. But so, and I'm asking this because obviously the Kim Cattrall character, Samantha, isn't in the new one. But I feel like that is a big reason why people love that character so much, because at the end of the day, she was not going to compromise herself and who she was. And I remember, like, she had this relationship with this man that, like, saw her through, like, cancer and all this other stuff. And everybody's like, oh, Samantha's finally going to find the one. And I can't remember specifics, but basically it was like the drop that just broke the camel's back. And her comment was, you know what? I do love you, but I love myself more. And I'm done. And I feel like we all fell in love with her a little bit or a lot because we don't do that. We don't say, you know what? I love myself more, because that's bad and that's shameful and you're egotistical. So if your reason if your reason for leaving is that you love yourself more, well, that's a horrible reason. You should stay there and put up with it and take it, because
you're supposed to settle and suffer.
Yes. What kind of person are you if you're not there supporting people, right?
Yeah. No, I think she triggered a lot of women, and I think she's inspired a lot of women, because she was doing and saying the things that we wish we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm thinking about that scene where she was, like, sitting there naked with sushi all over her, right? Like, it was just like, you go, girl. No, hard pass, but you go.
I don't know about that part. But
yeah. Right? And I think that it's about that balance, that tightrope between, like, being there and not, like, sabotaging our sisters, but at the same time, being there and not sabotaging someone doesn't mean you're destroying yourself in the process. Like, I think that there's space on both sides.
So last night I just watched the episode where Miranda is pregnant, and Charlotte, is desperately trying to get pregnant, and then Miranda accidentally gets pregnant. And it's just like the emotions, I was just so, they did such a good job. I mean, this show is toxic in so many ways, looking back.
Yeah.
But there are so many beautiful things about their friendships and who they are as women. But the way that they did this, where they were both allowed to have their feelings, their really, really big feelings around this topic, and they were both allowed to respect each other, set some boundaries with each other, and then in the end, come back to each other with love. I mean, I thought it was fabulous. And it's to what you're talking about, it's like, I don't know, female friendships are so freaking complex. And I just think our conditioning doesn't allow us the full spectrum of it. It doesn't allow us all the feelings and setting the boundaries, speaking our truth and all of that. So I think that's what makes it, I don't know, that's what makes it beautiful and complicated at the same time. I'm just rambling.
And no, I agree. And, it's interesting, again, the yardstick of our moms, but I also feel like, okay, so our moms came of age in the 60s and raised kids in the 70s, right? And while there was a lot of women's liberation going around and they both had jobs and stuff like that, society was still pretty damn oppressive for women, right? And like if this technology existed back then, your mom and my mom would not be hosting a podcast like that. I don't see that happening, right? But I feel like this little just bubble that they created with the people from Redlands, right? University of Redlands, Karen went there, our moms went there. So this bubble that they had with the guys along for the ride and the kids in the other room playing was their safe space. I kind of feel like part of the reason that group stayed together for so long was their kind of umbrella from everything, right? Is they could go and just be who they truly were and be supported and just show up. Bye, kids. Bye, husband. Okay, let's just tell it like it is.
That was their Sex and the City group.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, let's talk about those female friendships, because we've been talking a lot about, the friendships that are kind of hard and the ones that kind of blow up or fade away. But I mean, let's talk about the friends who meet you with no judgment and who show up without ever being asked. And my favorite, like I talked about earlier, the ones who call you on your shit, but also cheer you on. There's no competition. There's no jealousy. It's like we all want to win, and we want our sisters to win, right?
Yep. And I think, honestly, the difference between calling someone on their shit just to call them on it versus saying something with love because you want to help them be a better person with something that they've been struggling with is universes away.
Yep.
Right? We kind of joke about that on the podcast, but that's part of it in some small way, right? Karen will always give me crap about the journaling. Why? Because she knows that it's good for me and she knows that it's something that I've struggled with and I want to get better at, but she pushes me because she knows it's going to help me. And it's not about you suck. You can't make this a habit. It's just Lisa, I love you. Oh my God, I'm going to get emotional. I did not plan this. Oh my God. I love you and I'm trying to help you. And I know that this will help you. So I'm going to be funny about it and I'm going to prod you because I know it's good for you. Right. And conversely, I'm going to say, stop beating yourself up about the tech. Stop. No. And you're oh, it's no big deal. I'm just saying it. And I get really pissed at you. And I'm stop. You don't need that conditioning. Stop. Right. But it's both of those are examples of us wanting the best for each of us. And I think that is the big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not, it's only coming from a place of love. And, those are friendships that I want to take with me into as I sail off into the sunset, and I want to cut the dead weight or cut bait and just really hold on to friends, that I can be myself with.
So I think we actually might have talked about this on the first episode, but I have a group of friends, not super close, but they're associated with my college, who are literally starting an association of female retirement homes. and they're pooling stuff together and they're buying like a few different houses and working together in a couple different geographic areas so they can select kind of a group home, right? And I'm like, that sounds freaking
amazing.
Awesome. Right? Like, we hire the maid / pool guy / like bartender / like cleaning person, right? And we each get our own bedroom and there's someone there to clean up after us and serve us like our evening cocktail. And sign me freaking up. I would rather do that than pay some nameless, faceless, assisted living place. And believe me, I'm not throwing shade there. I know that they serve a purpose. We're not talking about memory care and all this, but I freaking love that idea of after years of taking care of everybody else, let's start our own group home.
It's like the Golden Girls.
Totally. Who, by the way, were our age now. And every time I look at that, I'm like, that's not even possible.
No, it's not.
It's weird.
No. Okay, quick pause. Have we talked about the Pod Squad lately?
Oh, the Pod Squad. You mean our email list /VIP lounge /digital wine club?
Exactly. So listeners, if you're not on it yet, you're basically making life harder for yourself when it comes to podcasts.
Like trying to scroll for show notes while speed walking on a treadmill. Wait, what was that link again? Oh, no. Grab the side rails.
Or pulling up that book we mentioned while you're in the Starbucks line and then realizing everybody else moved up 3 cars and now you're that woman.
We've all been there. That's why we made the Pod Squad. You'll get new episode alerts every week with direct links. Easy to listen, easy to share.
And show notes straight to your inbox. So when we drop a life-changing product, book, hot tip, or yummy new drink, you're not rummaging through your memory like a woman searching for her reading glasses when they're on top of her head.
It's organized, it's helpful, it's for you, babes.
So join the Pod Squad. The link is in the show notes. Just tap it.
Snacks, sarcasm, solidarity.
And obviously, fighting the patriarchy.
We write at dawn.
I feel like Gen X has really flipped the script on what it means to, be a quote-unquote middle-aged woman. But we're not going to get into that.
One for another podcast.
When I was thinking about this episode, I'm thinking, what do I want in my friendships? And the 2 words that came to me were ease and depth. I want ease and depth. Like we talked about earlier, I want the vulnerability, I want the real, I want the authentic, I want to go deep. And I want it to be easy. Not to say there aren't going to be hard things because man, oh man, let me tell you this last year has served up some really freaking hard things.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I want ease in my relationships,
Yeah.
And what about you?
I agree. And I think there's a difference between ease and easy, right? You're not asking for simple. You're asking for, I don't want to have to try so damn hard to shove a square peg in a round hole, right? I want it just to be like we're floating along. Like, I don't know if we've talked about this part of our friendship on the podcast, but we always remark like, right, we started this whole thing. We're like, oh, this is great. Let's like in our mind, I'm sure we're like, 5 episodes and we'll give up. Right. And here we are. And we always talk about the fact
that was never in my mind, by the way. Sorry.
Okay, I was just putting it out there because, you're right. But like we talk about this a lot, like when we have business dealings with the podcast or when we're trying to decide stuff, topics, like whatever it is. And it's just so easy, right? Like we've literally never had an argument about the podcast. We've never like disagreed in a major way. It's just like, hey, what do you think of these 3 titles? Yeah, I like this one. Okay, great. Like, let's do an episode on this. Okay, great. And there's just this kind of ease and peace and trust about it that allows us to show up for you all in this community in a way that's really vulnerable, but also really present and very much in this kind of welcoming spirit, right? And I'm telling you, like, I'm so, like, we always talk about our Monday, like, dates, right? Like, we record the podcast on Monday nights, and it's like, I look forward to this every week because this kind of sacred space for Karen and I, but really, for this whole community. So, long rambling way of saying, like, I think ease, not easy, right? Which is, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole. I think another reason why people are having such a hard time being on opposite side of politics, because that is not easy and that is not ease, right? It requires you to box off some stuff
Yep.
to preserve a friendship. And you've talked about that, like with your friends, right? Where it's like there's a few that you've been friends with forever, but they're on a different side of this political spectrum. And when you do your girls weekends, I know you've told me like there are topics that are off limits. Period. End of story. Because we're going to stick in the box here. And I think in a way that's preserving the ease, because you're like, there's no way this is going to get resolved. And
there's no way that anybody's changing anybody's mind. So you have to look at what is the ultimate goal. And I think whether it's politics or anything, it's like, what is my ultimate goal with this conversation? And, with politics, certainly it's like there would be no beneficial outcome, at least right now. Maybe in a couple years, when some of this dust settles. But certainly not right now.
Well, and I also think like this would be a whole other podcast episode, but the social media piece allows people to say stuff like drop these bombs and leave, right? That doesn't happen when you're in real life with someone that you care about, right? Like it's not like, oh, hey, and you say something incendiary and walk out of the room and everybody just goes, okay, Groundhog Day and everything's fine. Like that would leave a lasting wound. And so I think you're cognizant of that to kind of protect those spaces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is definitely protection and preserving because, friendships over 20, 30 years, it's like we've made it this far. I'm not gonna, blow it up because of that.
So there's one more thing I want to talk about before we go to our takeaways. You had talked about kind of the slow fade, the ghosting kind of piece. I'm trying to recall if that's kind of been something that I've actively or inactively done when you think about it.
Yeah, I've been reflecting on, I haven't really had any friendships like blow up, and that's probably why. It's because I've made the choice. I mean, there was one situation where she had done some things that it wasn't cool with me, and I called her on it, and we had a conversation, and then the friendship ended, which, was fine. Yeah, I just think I look at, kind of like I said earlier, what's going to come out of this? Like, is this, like there's one situation where it clearly the friendship has kind of run its course. So there's really no reason to, in my mind, to have a conversation about it. If the conversation came up, I would certainly have it, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, I just look at my emotional expenditure and is that going to be worth it? What's the result I'm looking for in the end,
So let me ask you a question. This is 56-year-old you.
Yeah.
What would 26-year-old you have done in that situation?
Oh, good Lord. 26-year-old me was, no. She would still be putting up with it. She would still be actively engaged in a friendship with this person. Yeah.
Samesies, right?
Yeah.
So I think that says something about our journey as women and how we've developed, right? Like, because we were in those situations in our 20s and 100% I would have done the same thing, right? Because, I don't want to lose a friend. Like, I don't have enough as it is. Like, oh no, wow, I'm going to turn myself in knots for this.
Yeah. And then it's the whole, everybody needs to like me. Like, I literally thought that. Like, I thought something was wrong with me if people don't like me.
100%.
Not understanding that's just not how life works. Like, there's going to be people that you are not their cup of tea. And I'm totally fine with that now. It's like, that's fine. Like, yeah, just save me the energy. But I think I look at this like estrangement as literally self-care. So, maybe it's ghosting. I don't know. But I'm like you. It's like I try and I kind of put things out there, and then when it's done, it's done. And there's no reason for any big fanfare or big, drama. It's just,
I definitely think one of the gifts of midlife, and I mean, this gets into our takeaways for our listeners, you get to choose who you give your energy to. Your kids are growing or they're gone. You're with your partner or you're not. And it's okay. Like, when you get to this point, you have the dang right to choose what you want to invest in. And that is freaking K. And it took me so long to learn that and really get that in my DNA that I wasn't a bad person. I wasn't being bad. It wasn't my freaking responsibility to be the freaking Pope and bless everybody. I was not responsible for everything that ever went wrong, ever, in the history of everness. Sometimes it's just they didn't like me and that was okay, right? What the hell,
Yes. But, I mean, like we talked about earlier, that conditioning, it's like we don't learn as girls that it's okay for people not to like us just because they don't like us. It doesn't mean we did something. It doesn't mean we're a bad person. They just don't like us. And that's okay. Yeah. It's okay for people not to like you.
And I feel like we get on this, we get hooked, right? I've talked about this before. We get hooked. It's like the giant worms in Dune, right? Where they throw these hooks out in there and they grab on and they go for, that's what it feels like to me, right? And here I am in the damn sandstorm with the hook and the worm going, wait, how did I get here? What's going on? Whoa, I don't need to do this, right? But I'm 50,000 miles away and suddenly I'm wait, how did I get here? Being more conscious about it. Yes, I did just draw a parallel between giant desert sandworms and hooks and female friendships. And I'm feeling pretty good about that metaphor and that analogy. So there you go.
I did not see that coming.
Frankly, neither did I, but here we go.
There it is.
Okay, save me.
Time to let's land the plane, as they say. So listeners, we know that this is a hot button topic for you because I hear about it in my communities, my clients. So let's talk about a few truths that we can all walk away with. Because you know what? We're all struggling to just figure out this whole friendship piece, right? So the first thing I want you to know, you're not a bad person for walking away from what no longer feels good. Lisa said it, I said it. It's not betrayal. It's just literally a radical act of self-respect. And endings are part of life cycle. Look at nature. It's not a personal failure. Even when this comes to relationships, friendships, and marriages. Let me just put that little thing out there. And you don't have to make someone the villain to honor your own truth, right? Sometimes we just grow in different directions. Our values change, and that's okay. We can hold dual truths, right? We both can have valid feelings.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lisa?
So I think we've talked about learning this, right? This idea that friendships aren't always forever. Like I said this before, sometimes they're for a season and that's okay. They can be beautiful and wonderful and supportive for that season. And that's what you need, right? But it doesn't mean it wasn't real or meaningful. So short chapters can leave deep imprints, like we talked about trauma bonding. So, and just because that particular friendship fell into that category, for lack of a better word, you're not broken or bad because the relationship ended. Sometimes you just move across the country. Sometimes you find another job. It's just part of the rhythm of life. And I think we both talked about this idea and kind of aspiration that midlife friendships get to be rooted in ease, honesty. So you're going to be real with your friends, but it's done in a way that's loving and supportive, not out of obligation. You get to choose joy and release guilt. It is okay to reclaim your energy from over-responsibility for others. So, okay, we want to hear your stories because we know this one clearly hit home for us. So hopefully it's resonating with you all. So grab your drink, take a breath, tell us, have you ever had a friendship that quietly ended or blew up dramatically? What did it teach you about yourself and what you deserve? And what kind of friendships are you craving now in this powerful midlife chapter? You can email us. You can tag us on social media. You can comment on this episode. We love those because comments and reviews, we talk about this jack the algorithm. And here's a hot off the presses announcement. We now have a YouTube channel, people. Yes, it's true. The Drinks with the Girls podcast YouTube channel. It is in our show notes. The added benefit of this is you get to see us live and in living Technicolor, so to speak. If you want to watch us on YouTube, go for it. If you want the OG version of the podcast, go for it. But share with a friend. Share with someone that you think needs to hear this, that it resonated with. We can't build this community without you. We are building it. We've got momentum. We're super excited as to where things are going, but we cannot do it without you. So please like, share, subscribe, review, leave us a comment, all the things.
All the things. And, friendship is not always easy. Like, friendship can be beautiful and magical and messy, but it's not always easy. But it can be one of the most healing, empowering parts of being a woman in midlife. And that's what this space, this community is all about.
So we will catch you next time on Drinks with the Girls. Protect your peace, choose your people, preserve your energy, and cheers to everybody.
Cheers.